Prologue. The wine splashed across my cream blouse before I even realized the waiter hadn't tripped. He'd aimed. His smirk was sharp, like a blade. "Oops," he drawled, eyes dragging over me. "Shouldn't wear white if you don't belong here." The laughter that rippled across the dining hall wasn't loud, but it cut deeper than any scream. Dozens of jeweled faces turned toward me, their amusement hidden behind champagne flutes and glittering pearls. Not one hand reached to help me. Not one voice told him to stop. I stood frozen, heat crawling up my neck, shame pressing heavy on my chest. My contract wasn't signed yet. One wrong move, and this billion-dollar deal could vanish. I needed this merger more than they knew. My whole career teetered on this night. But I wasn't invisible. No, I was a spectacle. A dark woman in a sea of pale faces. And they wanted me to know it. I swallowed hard, forcing my chin up even as the stain spread like blood across my blouse. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the glass back at him. I wanted to ask why, after all my degrees, my late nights, my earned place here, I was still just a target. Instead, I whispered, "Excuse me," and reached for a napkin with trembling hands. That's when I felt it. A presence, a shadow falling over me. "Clean this," a low voice ordered, sharp as steel. Not to me, to the waiter. The room hushed. Sebastian Hale, billionaire, CEO. Every eye in the room shifted to him as he pulled off his jacket, draping it over my shoulders like armor. His gaze swept the table with cold fury, daring anyone to laugh again. My breath caught. Because for the first time in a very long time, someone stood beside me. But I couldn't decide what scared me more, the cruelty of this world, or the power in his eyes as they lingered on me. You're listening to Billionaire Soulful Stories. What would you have done in that dining hall? Kept silent or fought back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Chapter 1. The Proposal. The rest of the dinner blurred. Faces, voices, polite applause. It all faded beneath the weight of his jacket around my shoulders. Warm, heavy, shielding me from eyes that wanted to strip me bare. Sebastian Hale didn't look at me again that night, not directly. But I felt him. Every time I shifted in my chair, his presence pressed against me, reminding me that the most powerful man in the room had chosen to stand beside me. I should have hated it. I should have been furious that it took a billionaire's voice to silence their cruelty. But instead, something inside me stirred. Shame tangled with something I didn't want to name. When the final toast ended, I gathered my files and turned to leave. That's when I heard it. "Stay." The word wasn't loud, but it froze me in place. His voice carried a command that cut deeper than any shout. I turned slowly, and there he was, rising from his chair, eyes locked on mine. "Follow me," he said. I should have refused. I should have walked away. But my feet betrayed me, carrying me after him through double doors, down a marble hallway, into a private lounge that smelled of leather and smoke. He closed the door behind us. Silence wrapped around us, heavy and dangerous. "You handled yourself well tonight," he said at last, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey. His gaze slid to me, cold but curious. "Better than most would." I stiffened, clutching my files tighter. "I don't need compliments, Mr. Hale. I need fairness. I need—" "You," he cut in smoothly. My breath stalled. "Excuse me?" He stepped closer, offering the glass, his lips twitching into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You're exactly what I've been looking for." The words echoed the whisper from earlier, but now there was no audience, no show. Only him, standing too close, his voice a low hum that made my pulse race. I tried to steady myself. "If this is about the merger—" "It's not," he set his drink down untouched, his eyes burning into mine. "I have investors breathing down my neck. They think I'm outdated, too white, too privileged. They want proof that I'm not another relic of a dying empire." I frowned. unease prickling through me. And what does that have to do with me? He didn't blink. Marry me. The room tilted. My files slipped from my grasp, papers scattering like fallen leaves across the floor. I laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. Marry you? Are you insane? He leaned closer, bracing one hand on the back of the sofa, caging me in without touching. His cologne was sharp, intoxicating. Think of it as a contract, a partnership. You'll be untouchable. No one will dare disrespect you again. And in return, I get exactly what they want to see. A strong, brilliant woman who makes me look like the man they can trust. My heart thundered. You want me to be your shield. His gaze darkened, unreadable. I want you to be mine. I shook my head, trying to laugh again, but the sound caught in my throat. This is ridiculous. We barely know each other. You don't need to know me, he said simply. You just need to say yes. I'll handle the rest. For a moment, silence filled the space between us. My mind screamed to run, to call him arrogant, to tell him no. But then I remembered the laughter, the smirks, the sting of wine on my skin, and the way he had stood, alone, when no one else had. What happens, I whispered, when the contract ends? His answer was immediate, almost too quick. Then we walk away. I should have left. But instead, I heard my own voice betray me, low and trembling. Yes. The words sealed something I didn't understand, something I couldn't undo. And when his lips curved, slow and dangerous, I knew I had just stepped into a world where nothing would ever be the same. Chapter 2. Entering his world. The morning after I said yes, a diamond ring sparkled on my finger like a brand. Too large, too loud, too final. Sebastian's assistant delivered it with a folder thicker than a law textbook. Contracts, clauses, expectations, all the rules of my new engagement. A calendar mapped out appearances, dinners, photo shoots. Every page tightened the invisible chain around my neck. I stared at the papers, my hands trembling. This wasn't a proposal. This was a business transaction dressed up as romance, and I had signed my name to it. By the end of the week, the announcement hit every major paper. Hail to wed brilliant attorney. The photo they used wasn't even of us together, just a headshot of me beside one of him like some mismatched before and after ad. My phone buzzed with messages from friends, colleagues, family. Some congratulated me, some asked if it was real, and some didn't bother to hide their suspicion. Did you marry him for the money? But nothing prepared me for the first gala. The hotel ballroom shimmered with chandeliers and silver, gowns worth more than cars swirling around me. I walked in on Sebastian's arm, and every conversation seemed to falter. Smiles flickered, brittle and cold, like glass ready to crack. One woman in emerald silk leaned toward her companion, not bothering to lower her voice. She's exotic. Brave of him, don't you think? Her companion chuckled. It won't last. They never do. The words sliced through me. I forced my smile tighter, my heels clicking too loud on the marble floor. Sebastian didn't flinch, didn't even glance at them. He was trained for this world, immune to poison whispered behind crystal glasses. But I wasn't. My skin burned, my throat ached, every part of me screamed to run. And then it happened again. The same kind of cruelty as that waiter, only sharper. A shareholder's wife extended her hand, then pulled it back at the last second, wiping it delicately on her gown as though I had dirtied her. The laughter around us was quick, soft, but it carried the same sting. My chest tightened, breath caught somewhere between a scream and a sob. I lowered my eyes, my grip on Sebastian's arm faltering. But before I could retreat, his voice cut through the room like a blade. This is my fiancé, he said, his tone steady and loud enough to silence the table. His arm slid firmly around my waist, pulling me close. His gaze swept the faces around us, daring them to look away. She is the only reason I agreed to be here tonight, and she will be treated with the respect she deserves. Gasps fluttered. The woman in emerald flushed crimson. The shareholder's wife stammered something about a misunderstanding, but Sebastian's eyes never left hers until she dropped her gaze. My pulse pounded so hard I thought my knees might give out. I glanced up at him, at the hard set of his jaw, the storm in his eyes. He wasn't pretending for cameras. This wasn't in the contract. This was raw, protective fury. The room shifted after that. Conversation stumbled back to life, but differently, warier, watching us with a mix of curiosity and caution. They had seen something unexpected. Sebastian Hale, untouchable billionaire, choosing me. I tried to breathe, but my chest wouldn't loosen. His hand lingered at my waist, steady, grounding, and too dangerous. Because in that moment, against my will, something inside me cracked open. It wasn't safe, I felt. It wasn't a relief. It was something far worse. It was an attraction. And as I stood beneath the glittering lights, surrounded by whispers that told me I didn't belong, the one thought I couldn't push away was that maybe, just maybe, I wanted to. Chapter 3. The lines blur. Sebastian didn't let go of my waist for the rest of the night. Even when the photographers descended on us, their flashes popping like fireworks, his hold stayed firm, his body angled protectively toward mine. Every picture would show it. His hand on me, his gaze sharp, mine uncertain. The next morning, the photos hit the news cycle. Power couple, Hale's new queen. Commentators praised his bold choice, investors speculated on what it meant, and strangers on the internet debated whether I was a gold digger. My inbox is filled with both congratulations and venom. I told myself it didn't matter. It was part of the contract. I was untouchable, he had promised. And yet I couldn't shake the memory of his voice last night, the way it vibrated through me when he declared, "She is my fiancée." The pretending was too convincing. Days blurred into weeks. We attended dinners, charity galas, business launches. Every event forced us into close proximity. His hand at the small of my back, his fingers brushing mine when cameras lingered, the low baritone laugh he reserved only when I whispered something dry in his ear. We moved like a couple who had been together for years, polished and seamless. But when the doors closed, when the world was gone, I caught glimpses of something unguarded in him. One night, after a particularly brutal shareholder dinner, I excused myself to the balcony, desperate for air. The comments from one of the directors still rang in my ears. "She's clever, I'll give her that. But she'll never fit here. She'll drag him down in the end." The city glittered below, but all I saw was darkness pressing in. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to hold the pieces together. The glass door slid open behind me. "You're shaking," Sebastian said quietly. I turned, startled. He stood in the doorway, his tie loosened, his expression softer than I had ever seen it. "I'm fine," I lied too quickly. His eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me, Imani." The way he said my name, like it mattered, like I mattered. Something in me cracked. "They'll never accept me," I whispered. "No matter how many contracts I sign or how many pictures I smile through. To them, I'll always be less." For a heartbeat, silence hung between us. Then he crossed the space in 2 strides, his hand brushing mine, warm and steady. "Then let them choke on their own ignorance," he said, his voice low, almost fierce. "You're not less. Not to me." I froze. My chest ached, my pulse raced, and before I could stop myself, my eyes lifted to his. The city lights reflected in them, sharp and endless. And then it happened. He kissed me. No cameras, no investors, no contract. Just him, his mouth on mine, stealing the breath from my lungs. The kiss was firm, unyielding, but beneath it was something raw, almost desperate. My hands trembled against his chest, torn between pushing him away and pulling him closer. When he finally drew back, his breath mingled with mine, ragged and uneven. "That wasn't in the contract," I whispered, my voice shaking. His eyes burned into me, dark and unreadable. I don't care. The night air wrapped around us, heavy with something neither of us could name, and I knew nothing about this arrangement would ever be simple again. Chapter 4. The CEO's Stand. The room went silent. Every whisper, every sneer, every laugh that had been aimed at me froze in the air when Liam stood up. At first I thought he was leaving. A man like him didn't need to involve himself in ugly office politics. But instead he walked around the long mahogany table, his polished shoes tapping like a countdown. He stopped right behind me. "I won't tolerate this in my company," he said, his voice even but sharp. His words sliced the air like a blade. "No one here will speak to my employees with disrespect. Do I make myself clear?" The executives shifted uncomfortably. One of them coughed. Another muttered something under his breath. No one dared look him in the eye. And me? My hand shook on the notepad I had been scribbling on. My throat tightened. I wanted to vanish. Yet at the same time, I had never felt so seen. He didn't stop there. "Amira," he said, and my heart nearly tripped at hearing my name on his lips. "You're here because of your skills, and from this moment forward, anyone who undermines you undermines me." My breath caught. The room caught too. Gasps, stares, side glances. All of it buzzed against my skin like static. I whispered, "Why are you doing this?" Not loud enough for them to hear, but he caught it. His dark gaze flicked to mine, unwavering. "Because it's right," he murmured. The meeting stumbled forward after that, but I couldn't focus. My notes blurred into meaningless scribbles. The numbers, the projections, the pitches, all of it drowned under the weight of one question. Why would a man like Liam Hayes risk his reputation for someone like me? When it finally ended, people rushed out, their silence louder than their earlier whispers. I gathered my things quickly, desperate to escape. But before I reached the door, his voice stopped me. "Amira, stay." The others glanced back, curiosity dripping from their eyes. My stomach clenched. I stayed. He waited until the last person left before turning to me. "I apologize for what you went through." I shook my head quickly. "You don't need to." "Yes, I do." His tone softened, but it carried weight. "I built this company from nothing. I know what it's like to be underestimated, to be told you don't belong. I won't let anyone treat you that way here." His words pierced deeper than I wanted them to. I wasn't supposed to trust him. He was my boss, a billionaire CEO, a man with power that could crush me in a second. But he spoke like someone who understood. "I've gotten used to it," I whispered. "People like me, we have to." Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, regret, anger? I couldn't tell. But his jaw tightened. "No, you shouldn't have to." I looked away, my chest heavy. I wanted to argue, to tell him that the world didn't bend just because he willed it. But before I could speak, he said, "Join me for lunch. My driver is waiting downstairs." My heart jumped into my throat. Lunch? With him? I scrambled for an excuse. I can't. I have work to finish. I'll make sure it's cleared." His lips curved, not quite a smile, but close enough to unsettle me. "Please, Amira, let me explain something outside these walls." I hesitated. Everything in me screamed that this was dangerous. A man like him, polished, untouchable. What did he see in me? And yet, part of me wanted to know. "All right," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. The restaurant was a rooftop jewel, draped in glass and light. Too elegant, too perfect. I felt out of place the moment I stepped inside. "Relax," Liam said as we sat across from each other, city lights stretching behind him like a crown. "You belong here as much as anyone." I wanted to laugh at that. Me, in my thrift store blouse and scuffed shoes, sitting across from a man whose watch probably cost more than my rent. "I'm not sure I do," I muttered. "You do," he said firmly. "And that's the problem. The world doesn't see it yet, but I do." His conviction made my pulse race. "You don't even know me," I whispered. I know enough, he replied. I saw how you carried yourself today. You didn't lash out. You didn't crumble. You stayed steady. That takes strength most people don't have. I swallowed hard. He made me sound like someone else, someone braver, stronger, not the girl who cried in bathroom stalls when the taunts became too much. And if you let me, he continued, his voice lower now, I'll make sure no one ever tries to break that strength again. The promise in his words made my chest ache. But before I could respond, the waiter arrived, breaking the spell. By the time we left, the sun was sliding down the horizon, painting the sky in fire. His car door opened for me, sleek and black, and for a second I wondered if stepping inside meant crossing a line I couldn't uncross. But I stepped in anyway. The ride back was quiet. His presence filled the space, heavy and consuming. I stared out the window, my mind a storm. When the car stopped outside my apartment, he spoke again. You don't owe me anything, Amira, but I need you to know I'll stand beside you, no matter what they throw your way. The words landed like an anchor in my chest. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust that someone like him could mean it. But the world had taught me one truth over and over. Promises from powerful men rarely held when the storm came. So I turned, met his steady gaze, and whispered the only question that clawed its way out of me. Even if standing beside me ruins you? His lips curved slightly, almost daring. Especially then. My breath caught. The air between us charged, and before I could process it, the driver pulled away, leaving me staring at the man who had just shifted the ground under my feet. And somewhere deep inside, I knew this was only the beginning of a storm neither of us was ready for. Chapter 5. The threat grows. I didn't sleep. That message glowed against the darkness long after my phone dimmed. You don't belong with him. Stay in your lane or you'll regret it. The words slithered into my chest like ice, pressing down on me until I could barely breathe. I lay staring at the ceiling, listening to every creak of the old building, every hum of the radiator, waiting for something or someone to move in the shadows. By morning, my eyes were swollen, my body heavy. I dragged myself to the office, the letter of threat still replaying in my mind. At my desk, I tried to work, but my fingers kept slipping on the keys. Numbers blurred, words made no sense. When I finally lifted my gaze, he was there. Liam. Standing at the edge of the floor, watching me like he could feel the storm I carried. His jaw was tight, his eyes sharper than usual. In that moment, I wanted to tell him everything, show him the message, let him carry the weight for once. But fear locked my throat. Because telling him would mean admitting what we were had become real, and that terrified me almost as much as the threat itself. The whispers worsened. Marissa's smirk stretched wider every time she passed my desk. My co-workers avoided me like I carried a disease, and every news site I stumbled on screamed about the CEO's mystery woman. One headline cut deeper than the rest. From nobody to somebody overnight. Is she using him? It was everything they had been saying behind my back, written in ink for the world to see. I shoved the phone away, my chest aching. No matter what I did, I was the villain in their story. The girl who didn't belong. The mistake by his side. And yet, when Liam brushed past me in the hallway later that day, his fingers grazed mine in the briefest, softest touch, hidden from view. That single spark sent heat rushing up my arm, undoing every cruel word I had read. I hated how much power he had over me. How one look, one touch, could silence all the noise. It was late evening when everything finally broke. I had stayed behind again, hunched over reports when the sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the quiet hallway. At first I thought it was Liam, but when I looked up, it wasn't. It was two men I had never seen before. They weren't dressed like employees. Dark jackets, sharp eyes, a dangerous stillness in the way they moved. Amira Hassan? One of them asked, his voice rough. My pulse spiked. Yes? He smirked as if confirming something. A word. I stood slowly, my knees trembling. I don't know you. Who are you? That doesn't matter. The second man stepped closer. What matters is you're getting too comfortable. Time to remember your place. I stumbled back, my chair scraping the floor. My mind screamed to run, but my body froze. Suddenly, a familiar voice thundered through the silence. Step away from her. Liam. He appeared in the doorway, his shoulders broad, his face carved with fury. In 2 strides, he was in front of me, his arms stretching out to shield me. The men smirked. Relax, boss. Just having a chat. Don't call me that. Liam snapped. His voice was low, dangerous. You think you can walk into my company, threaten my employee, and walk out unscathed? The taller man shrugged. Not a threat, just a warning. This girl's making waves she shouldn't. You might want to think twice before dragging her down with you. My blood turned cold. Liam's jaw clenched, every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. You have 3 seconds to leave before I make sure you never walk into this building again. The men exchanged a look, then chuckled, stepping back. Careful, CEO. Protecting her might cost you more than you think. They slipped out, their laughter echoing down the hall. When they were gone, I realized my hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold onto my desk. Liam turned to me, his eyes burning. Why didn't you tell me? My throat tightened. Tell you what? That someone was threatening you. His voice cracked with anger. Not at me, but for me. You think I wouldn't notice? You think I wouldn't care? I swallowed hard, tears pricking my eyes. Because it's my life, Liam. This is what happens to people like me. We don't get protected. We get silenced. His face softened then, the anger melting into something more fragile. He stepped closer, his hand hovering near my cheek before finally, gently, touching me. You're not alone anymore, he whispered. I won't let them touch you. Not while I'm breathing. The words unraveled something deep inside me, something I had locked away for too long. I should have pushed him back, reminded him of the rules. But instead, I leaned into his touch, into the heat of his palm, into the promise in his eyes. And when his lips brushed mine, soft at first, then fierce, I didn't resist. I let the world outside fall away. I let the fear dissolve into the taste of him. I let myself believe, just for that moment, that love could be stronger than hate. But even as he kissed me, even as my heart soared, the echo of that warning haunted me. Protecting her might cost you more than you think, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the cost hadn't even begun. Chapter 6. The Breaking Point. The kiss changed everything. The next morning I couldn't look at my reflection without feeling the heat of his lips again, the way his breath had trembled against mine. I should have felt guilty. I should have reminded myself that this was a man leagues above me, my boss, the CEO. But all I could feel was the truth. I wanted him. The office buzzed with unease. The men who had cornered me last night lingered in my mind like shadows I couldn't chase away. Their warning twisted itself into every thought. Protecting her might cost you more than you think. And then, the news broke. Someone leaked the photo. Not the balcony photo from before. This one was worse. It was Liam and me last night. His hand on my cheek, his lips against mine. The kiss that had felt like salvation was plastered across every news site, every headline screaming, the CEO and his employee, secret romance exposed. I stared at the screen, numb. My heart thudded, slow and painful. Within hours, the whispers at work weren't whispers anymore. They were daggers. She trapped him. He'll lose the company for her. She's destroying everything. The board called an emergency meeting. Investors threatened to pull out. The company's stock dipped. All because of me. I tried to resign. I typed the letter, hands trembling, tears falling onto the keyboard. But before I could hit print, Liam stormed into my office. "You're not leaving." His voice was fierce, his eyes blazing. "I have to," I whispered, clutching the letter. "Look what I've done. Your company is falling apart. Your reputation—" "Stop." He snatched the letter from my hands and tore it in half. "You think this is your fault? You think I care about what they say? The only thing I care about is you." Tears spilled down my cheeks. "You don't understand. They won't stop. They'll come after me harder now." "Then let them." His voice broke, raw. "I've lived my whole life letting people decide who I am. Cold, ruthless, unfeeling. But you—" He stepped closer, his hand pressing against his chest. "You're the only thing that's ever made me feel alive. I won't give that up. Not for them. Not for anyone." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But the fear coiled inside me like a living thing. And then it happened. A message flashed on my phone. Different number, same venom. Last chance. Walk away, or watch him lose everything. I showed Liam, my hands trembling. His face turned to stone. "This isn't just gossip anymore," he said coldly. "This is war." That night he drove me to his penthouse. The city lights sprawled beneath us, glittering, endless. Inside, he paced like a caged lion, fury radiating off him. "They think they can scare you," he growled. "They think they can scare me, but they don't know who they're dealing with." I grabbed his hand, stopping his storm. "Please, don't fight them with more fire. That's what they want. If you burn everything down, they win." His gaze softened, his hand squeezing mine. "Then what do I do, Amira? Tell me how to protect you without losing you." I opened my mouth, but no answer came. Because I didn't know. All I knew was that this love, as fragile and fierce as it was, had become the center of my world. And if the world wanted to rip it away, they'd have to rip me apart too. But as I lay in his bed that night, his arm heavy around me, I couldn't shake the dread crawling through me. We were on borrowed time. Something had to break. And I feared it would be us. Chapter 7. The Choice of Forever. The breaking point came faster than I imagined. The board issued an ultimatum. Step down as CEO, or end the relationship with me. The choice was delivered coldly, without hesitation. They didn't even hide their disdain. "You've built this empire, Liam. Don't throw it away for sentiment." I waited for him outside the boardroom, my stomach twisted into knots. When the doors finally opened, his face was unreadable. "What did they say?" I whispered. His jaw clenched. "They want me to choose." The world tilted, my throat closed. "And what will you choose?" For the first time, his eyes faltered. Not because he didn't know, but because the weight of it was crushing him. That night, silence filled the penthouse. He stood at the window, staring at the city he had built his life upon. I sat curled on the couch, clutching a pillow like a shield. Finally, I whispered, "I won't let you lose everything for me." He turned sharply. "Don't you dare say that. You are not nothing. You are not a mistake." "Then let me go," I begged, tears falling. "If this is love, Liam, then protect me by ending it. Save your company, save your name." His face twisted with anguish. He crossed the room in 3 strides, dropping to his knees in front of me. His hands cupped my face, his forehead pressing to mine. "You think I built this empire for them?" His voice shook. "I built it because I thought money and power would fill the emptiness inside me. But it never did. Not once. Until you. You're the only thing that's ever given me happiness. And if they want me to choose—" His lips brushed mine, fierce, trembling. "Then I choose you." The next day, the headlines screamed again. CEO resigns in defiance of board. Chooses love over legacy. The world was stunned. Investors panicked. Rivals cheered. But through it all, Liam stood tall, his hand clasped around mine. as if daring anyone to tear us apart. And for the first time, I didn't care about the whispers, because they weren't whispers anymore. They were applause. At the press conference, reporters shouted, cameras flashed, chaos swirled. And yet, when he turned to me, the noise vanished. "Amira Hassan," he said, his voice strong, echoing through the hall. "I walked into this deal to silence critics. I never expected to find the one person who would change everything. So let the world know. I'm not ashamed. I'm proud, because she's not just beside me. She's my everything." Tears blurred my vision as the room erupted. Some cheered, some jeered, but none of it mattered. Because in that moment, I knew we had won. Not the company, not the fight, but each other. Later, when the lights dimmed and the noise faded, he held me close against his chest, his lips against my hair. "Forever," he whispered. And for the first time in my life, I believed it. Thank you for listening to Billionaire Soulful Stories. If you felt Amira and Liam's journey in your heart, drop a comment. Would you choose love over legacy if you had to? I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unforgettable love stories.